What is going on, guys? I'm back here with my Elimination Chamber review. I'm just gonna cut right to it. I thought it was an above average show from them. There were there were two great, very pleasant surprises mixed in along with, the usual outcomes most had expected. But overall, I thought it made for a pretty damn good show. When I judge shows, I normally don't judge them on a match-by-match basis. I just judge them by, did I regret watching the show? And I didn't regret watching the show, not whatsoever. I thought it was very solid. And it did its job. I'm looking much more forward to Mania now than I was earlier in the day. Getting right to it, first off, the pre-show match, Tensai and Brodus Clay ended up defeating the Rhodes Scholars. It's obviously they're rolling with Tensai and Brodus as a tag team. That's fine by me. I am a huge Tensai fan. I always thought they botched the way he came back. So at least he's still doing something. Why they put the Rhodes Scholars back together, I'm not quite sure. You take them apart, put them back together 2 weeks later, and now they're doing a job in a pre-show. So I am a bit worried for them at this point. Opening match was Alberto Del Rio against the Big Show. It's exactly what you would expect between these two. It was a solid match. ADR ends up getting the win, with the armbar, and that's really all I have to say about it. You could probably see the same thing on a SmackDown main event, but overall, I thought it was, a decent match, or not decent, but a good match. It wasn't the worst match on the show. Let's put it that way. Antonio Cesaro against The Miz for the U.S. Championship. I thought it was a solid match. Again, really nothing too much stuck out about this other than the finish. I do like the purpose of the finish, to get that cheap heel heat, to basically say, oh, well, look, Cesaro weaseled his way out of that one. That's great. That's exactly what you need for a heel, especially with his specific gimmick. I just thought it could have been done better than, Cesaro kicked out his knee, Miz hit him with a low blow, and that's a DQ. I thought that could have been done just a little bit better. But overall, the point of the match and Cesaro retaining it went over alright with me. So you had the Elimination Chamber match after this. Overall, even over the 6-man tag that came after this surprised the hell out of me. Chamber matches are rarely bad. I think it's kind of hard with that kind of stipulation to have a bad match. Obviously, you had great talent in there as well. Jericho, Kane, Bryan, Mark Henry, Randy Orton, and Jack Swagger. And it went over, pretty much exactly as I thought it would. Right off the bat, I was hyped up by Jack Swagger coming out first with new entrance music, thank God. The Rage Against the Machine style song is gone. Some people hate his new theme. Some people love it like I do. I just think it's much more fitting for his current persona. I think it's going to go over well. Back and forth action again to start. Just your stereotypical chamber match. Really nothing too over the top to start. Pretty much nothing really happens until Mark Henry comes in. He starts taking over and pretty much destroying everybody. He eliminated Daniel Bryan fairly shortly after entering the match. Followed that up by catching Kane, who was going for a clothesline, and eliminating him with the World's Strongest Slam. After that's where it starts to get interesting. Henry's dominating. He misses, basically a Vader bomb out of the corner, aiming for Jericho and Swagger. All three men end up hitting a move on him. Swagger hits a boot. Jericho, I think, hit an enziguri, and then Orton hits an RKO to eliminate him. From there, it gets interesting. Like I said, you had a lot of really good back and forth action between Orton, Jericho, and Swagger. I thought for sure Swagger would be the next guy eliminated, but after some near falls and Jericho and Orton constantly trying to one-up each other and breaking up each other's pins, Orton catches Jericho with an RKO and eliminates him. Now, going into this pay-per-view, I think everyone thought, along with myself, that if Jericho won this, it would be Jericho versus Ziggler for the world title. at WrestleMania, meaning Ziggler would have cashed in on ADR. Ziggler not cashing in, I still thought there was hope for a title match between Ziggler and Jericho at Mania. But Jericho not winning this obviously kind of cancels that out. I thought if Jericho won this, Ziggler would cash in tomorrow on Raw. But thinking about it, regardless, that match is going to happen, and it really didn't need the world title to go over well. Ziggler versus Jericho by itself is a great match that'll go over by itself. You know, it doesn't need the added stipulation. Jericho, Ziggler, one-on-one. They have a history. Let them go out there, and as Ziggler says, steal the show. And I guarantee they're going to. That's going to be a great match at Mania. Yeah, after that, though, Orton gets up, immediately gets rolled up by Jack Swagger, and Jack Swagger wins the Money in the Bank match and is going to WrestleMania to face Alberto Del Rio. The second Jericho got pinned, I'm like, okay, Orton, he's going to get rolled up here, counter, probably duck a clothesline or a boot and hit the RKO, and he's going to go to Mania. But surprisingly, and I applaud WWE for this, they pulled the trigger on Swagger immediately. They're not just saying, they're not going to bring him in and give him time to build him up. They're just saying, hey, fuck that, we're going with this thing. And I think it works out perfect. You have Swagger and his new gimmick, sort of the basically the anti-immigrant gimmick, going up against a Mexican World Heavyweight Champion. It makes sense. I thought we'd see this later on, maybe late spring, early summer. So it is very shocking to me to see this feud, get kicked off right now, heading into Mania. My one concern, though, with Dutch Mantell or Zeb Coulter as Swagger's new manager, I've seen a lot of people complaining, oh, Swagger, just don't even let him talk. Let, Dutch do all the talking. And that would be a huge mistake. When it comes to managers, their job is to get heat, but the wrestler themselves also needs to draw heat. Swagger, we've seen it before. He has trouble drawing heat just on ring work alone. His mic skills obviously aren't that good. So you have, Zeb Coulter draw the heat, and then Swagger, he has to talk and he has to make sure there's an even balance. In comparison to, say, Bobby Heenan and maybe Hercules Hernandez back in the 80s, or anybody else Bobby Heenan managed where he did all the talking. Bobby got all the heat. So you didn't want to see, say, Hercules Hernandez get his ass kicked. You wanted to see Bobby Heenan get his ass kicked. And if this happens with Zeb Coulter and Jack Swagger's going to falter. Bottom line. So anyone who's saying, oh, he shouldn't be talking, that's a mistake, yes, he should. And, that's the only way to even out the heat. It's already shown Swagger can't exactly get as much heat to be an upper mid-card upper mid-card main event guy without talking a little bit. And that was the, reason behind bringing in Zeb Coulter, was to help that, balance it out and to help Swagger on the mic in general. Enough ranting on that. We got that wonderful surprise, and then we got a second great surprise. The Shield against Ryback, John Cena, and Sheamus. The Shield pull off the upset, basically. This match was about, I think, 15 minutes long, so it was pretty much the average main event you would see on Raw. Surprisingly, the crowd was really into this. A lot of, some negative, chants towards Sheamus. He wasn't as over as the rest of the people in this match. Ryback was over huge, which is why the ending surprised me. Basically, Sheamus gets speared through the barricade by Reigns. Cena and Ryback start to decimate Ambrose and Rollins, and then I believe it was Reigns hit Ryback with the spear as he had, I believe, Seth Rollins up going for a shell shock, and that gets the Shield the win. While I do like the finish and I love the outcome, and I'm actually quite surprised, Cena wasn't going over prior to Mania. My one gripe about it is I think Sheamus should have been the one to be pinned. If WWE really is behind Ryback, they might have a hard time at this point getting momentum behind him. He's had so many big losses since the Hell in a Cell match. He lost at Hell in a Cell. He lost at Survivor Series. He lost at TLC. He was the last man eliminated in the Rumble match, and now he's pinned at Elimination Chamber. 5 straight pay-per-view matches where Ryback hasn't won. Now you can say, oh, well, the point of, building up a monster is to just eventually have people go over him to build them up. And while that is true, if you have any sort of future for the guy, you eventually get his feet back under him. And at this point, I'm really wondering how the WWE is going to manage to do that. There is the rumor of a Ryback Big Show match where, you'll get that special moment of Ryback getting him up for Shell Shock. And I honestly can't think of any other way other than that off the top of my head right now to get momentum behind him. But if WWE does want a future for Ryback, he absolutely has to win at WrestleMania. Just too many, 5 straight pay-per-view losses in a row, even though he's been in great matches, arguably great matches in all of them. He needs to get his feet back under him. Overall, like I said, I compared it to like a Raw main event. It was a good match. The fans were really into it. And the Shield got the win. That's 2 back-to-back fantastic surprises. Swagger and then the Shield picking up the victories. Definitely got me into the show 100%. You had a short match between Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston does the job for Ziggler. Gets him over more heading into Mania, where I do believe he'll face Chris Jericho regardless of whether or not the title, the World Heavyweight title is in the picture. When it comes to Kofi, who knows what they're going to do with him from this point on. I mean, every once in a while, he'll have a run and then he'll start the job. He'll have a run and he'll start the job. Make or break for WWE with this guy at this point. Pretty much at this point, I see him at R-Truth level. He's never going to hit that main event spot. I mean, I think this is Kofi Kingston is the new Shelton Benjamin. He's not going to hit that next plateau. I think that, that point in time, that real peak point where you could have put him to that next level has come and gone. Even though he still gets reactions, I just do not see it happening. You had Caitlyn against Tamina. It was what it was. Caitlyn gets the win. Then you had the main event between The Rock and CM Punk. Another good match. It's not one of the best matches of all time. It probably won't be top 10 on anyone's list come the end of the year. But it was a solid match. A lot of, crap with the refs. I think there were 3 different refs in the match because the first 2 kept getting, knocked out. Overall it was good. I mean, the ending comes, Punk goes to, it was obvious for anyone who's seen a wrestling match before. Punk grabs the belt, Heyman's holding Rock on the apron. Rock moves, Heyman gets the belt to the face. Rock bottom, and that's it. Thankfully, The Rock won with the Rock bottom this time, not the people's elbow. But yeah, I thought it was a solid match. Another solid match between the 2. And they advertised it. Oh, WrestleMania right after the match. Rock versus Cena 2. We all knew it was coming. And everyone who says, "Oh, well, Punk tomorrow, he'll get put back in the title picture," I don't see that happening. Even if Undertaker, the rumored match of Taker versus Punk, if Undertaker can't go, I think they'll find something else for Punk rather than just throw him in there. They don't need that added. I don't want to call CM Punk baggage, but he would be in that match. You have enough to sell the main event. Rock, Cena 2. Cena's going over. I mean, it's set in stone, and it's been set in stone. The moment Rock actually won the belt at the Royal Rumble. Excuse me. So, I mean, that's it. Final thoughts. I thought it was a pretty damn good show. I mean, the first 2 matches were good. They weren't anything overly special. The middle of this card really packed the punch. The Elimination Chamber match and the 6-man tag match. With those surprise finishes, those really got me into it. Ziggler went over. The Divas match was nothing. Then you get a solid main event. So I usually don't like giving 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. I just thought it was an above average to good pay-per-view. Nothing other than the Divas match and Dolph Ziggler. Those are the Divas match, Dolph Ziggler versus Kofi. Those are the only bad things on this show. Everything else was average to above average and even good, I think, in the case of the Elimination Chamber match. So I am gonna stop rambling now. I know I'm rambling on. Like I said, I don't write shit down. I just go. But thank you guys for watching this video. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you next time.